Hello, this is another lesson on web search about information retrieval and the basic principles of it. So it's a very well established field in computer science, very old. It predated the web because it was needed for books. And remember, we have data, information, knowledge, wisdom. Information is just after data, so it's a bit about getting some non-trivial things out of bunches of words. And this was obviously this was a field which underlied libraries and things like that. And also it was also closely related to database work in computer science. So if you look at information retrieval versus database, part of the difference is the word data versus the word information. Remember, information is higher level, which is trying to find relevance, whereas data is trying to find exact, precise matches, like here. We want to find all documents which have the letters semantic web in it. Here we want to find everything which is relevant to the concept of semantic web, which might even have stuff which doesn't even have the text semantic web in it. Let's have a little bit of digression here about the different ways of doing this. Libraries were originally built around keywords because they were built around a compute-impoverished world where you had to do everything. You couldn't afford to look at all words in a book. There's been a tremendous change now. You can afford to look at all words in a book. In my opinion, many things done by keywords are better done by full text. However, keywords are always valuable because they form so-called ontologies, which an ontology is a list of the allowed keywords, and they allow you to give rather precise classifications, which is sometimes very important. There are various important keywords, like the Dublin core has core document information like author and title. This differs a little from tagging. Tagging usually general syntax. You do not have to choose when you tag something online. You do not have to take your tag out of an ontology. And full text is obviously lots of possible confusions, but it's also a lot richer. And the huge advantage is you don't actually have to add keywords. One of the huge problem with keywords, they have to be added. And there are many examples of important sets of collections of documents where there are no keywords. So in general, I consider that the keywords are going to decrease in use and full text is going to increase in use. Here's an example of a set of keywords coming from ACM, Computing Society, and it's trying to classify computer science, hardware, control design styles, control, structure, performance analysis and design aids, micro-programming design aids, blah, 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 software, programming techniques, functional programming, automatic program, concurrent programming, parallel programming, sequential program, object-oriented programming. These are all reasonable things, but I'm not certain how valuable this is, but it's often quite hard to find out where you fit in here, and you'll find that there seems to be, not surprisingly, some categories which are not so important as others. So now if we look at web search and compare it to information retrieval, the web is doing the same thing as information retrieval, but not doing it on documents, it's doing it on the web. And the web tends to be much larger than most information retrieval systems, although as they start digitizing books all over the place, the book-based information retrieval system is coming pretty large. And originally this started all around 95, and there were lots of activities. I remember I once got a prize from Oracle. No, well, I think it was from Oracle. I used an Oracle database to store the results of a web search. That was not a very clever idea because, as Google and others showed, that Web search has trade-offs which make databases, traditional databases, not the most efficient. In those days, we were just showing that this was just a database. It's around 95. Nobody really knew whether the web was going to be successful. It looked very promising, but we were just exploring all sorts of issues. And of course, a lot of the important startups got started around that time. Although Google was a little later, 98, and it took over a new generation of search engines, which greatly improved the initial search engines. So another important feature of web search is advertising and commerce. Web search is part of an ecosystem which has commerce sites and social media sites, whereas information retrieval tends to sit on an ecosystem of books, often scholarly books. There's a lot of spam, junk, which you tend not to have with books. Books, to produce a printed book is a bit of an effort, so the amount of spam is not so high. And there's lots of low-quality sites like mine. So that's that end of the section on basic information retrieval and its relation to web search. Now we look at web search in general in the next lesson.